go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie, and today I have 8 new fall DIYs for you. And today we're going to be doing Kirkland's dupes. Kirkland's has tons of fall decor items on their website and in their stores this year. So the first item that we're going to try to dupe with Dollar Tree supplies is this little Hello Pumpkin art print, regularly $49.99 at Kirkland's, and we're going to try to dupe it with supplies from the Dollar Tree. So the first thing I did was design this image that's pretty close to the original, and I will include the link to the free printable for that. And we are going to frame it in one of these Dollar Tree frames. I really liked this one because it was square and the original art print was square, so I thought this would work well. It kind of has like a tannish gray frame, which I kind of like. It kind of goes great for neutral fall. So we're going to leave that as is. Now, to make the art print, I'm actually going to attach the image that I printed directly on the glass. Now, the frame is slightly larger than the width of a piece of paper, so 8.5 inches, just slightly larger. So what I'm going to do here is just cut the sides off of this image. I printed it out on cardstock just because I find it's a little bit easier to work with, but you could probably get away with paper, but you might get a little bit more wrinkling with that. What I want is a slight glass border on the 2 sides to match the slight glass border that's going to be on the top and the bottom there. So that looks pretty good. It is a little bit smaller, than the glass, but it is so small that it's really not noticeable. So I am going to just do Mod Podge all over the surface of the glass, and we're just going to attach the image directly to that. So I put a nice thick layer down and line up my image. Make sure it's kind of on there square, that there aren't any bubbles. I like to smooth mine out first with my fingers, really dry, but then I also like to follow that up with a scraper to try to get any excess glue out that might be trapped underneath of it too. And this is really going to give us a mounted art print on wood, but just using the existing glass that was in the frame. So once I got it dried, I went over the top of it with more Mod Podge to seal it down. I kind of like the brush strokes that you get from that. I've been having a lot of problems with the Dollar Tree foam brushes lately though, leaving those little black spots of foam, but we got it in there. We're just going to go ahead and put it back in the frame. As you can see, there is a slight border around that. And I kind of wanted to fill that with something because I didn't want the brown backing to show through there. So I decided just to use the paper that came with the frame, turn it upside down like that. It will have a white background and it will kind of blend in with our printable. I do have a larger format printer, but I have it set up only for sublimation, so I can't go any larger than a regular sheet of paper. So I just popped the back on it. I wanted to use the existing hanger that was on there. And check it out, how easy was that DIY. I think it was so easy, and with this printable, you can make this too. I always share a link to the files that are in my Google Drive. So this is what we were trying to do, the Hello Pumpkin art print from Kirkland's. And let me show you ours. I think it turned out really cute. I love kind of the neutral colors. I kind of chose a honey color for the word hello. And I like that it's just hello with just a pumpkin, kind of figure it out, right? And I try to use lots of fall colors there in the greenery and a beautiful watercolor pumpkin. I think it turned out really good. What do you guys think about our first Kirkland dupe? Up next, we're going to do another one. This one was a white textured pumpkin canvas art print, regularly $39.99 from Kirkland's. And I thought we could DIY this with one of the Dollar Tree burlap canvases because it's already kind of that brownish color, right? So they kind of had a wood frame on theirs. And for that, I thought we could use some of the 5-gallon paint stirrers from Walmart. So I'm just going to use my football pumpkin. Isn't that adorable? I picked that up at Dollar Tree the other day just for a stencil. But, a pumpkin shape is so easy. You can probably figure this out if you don't have anything. But I had this handy and it was the right size. So I'm just going to use that for a stencil and then use a Sharpie I'm going to have mine slightly go off the bottom and the side like the original. And since I have a, rectangular canvas instead of a square, I chose a long pumpkin. I thought that would look good. Now to make the textures, I'm just going to use hot glue. So right where I put my Sharpie line, I'm going to go in with kind of my fine tip hot glue gun here and just start sketching that out. And this is going to provide us that texture that you see in the original. So I just do the border, do a couple lines right here for the little pumpkin stem. And then I'm going to do I think I can fit 4 little pumpkin lines in, kind of arched a little bit to go along the sides of where the pumpkin would be there. So I do each side and then I do another 2 here in the middle. And that is mainly the texture that I saw in our inspiration piece. And once we paint all that, it's going to provide us that cool texture. Now, I thought that looked pretty good, but I thought maybe I should make the outside of the pumpkin a little bit thicker. So I did go back in there with another coat of hot glue on that. And you want to clean up any hot glue strands or anything like that you might have, because when you go to paint it, you're going to be able to see it. But I think that looks pretty good, and I think we can start painting it. But we just have to let the hot glue set up. I'm just burning off those strands, and I have an air conditioner in my garage, so I wouldn't put it in front of the air conditioner for a minute, like a window unit, and it's set right up. Now I'm just using regular ivory acrylic paint, and we are gonna paint this. See how that great texture turns out? And I kind of like the imperfect nature of the hot glue. It's gonna make it look even more handcrafted and unique. And I'm just gonna go in and paint that. I did switch to a smaller brush when I'm kind of going around the edges. I don't wanna go too crazy there. But basically, I want to do a nice thick coat of the ivory in there. I thought at first that I might have to do spackle, to do a spackle texture to kind of get this look. But I was really impressed with how well this burlap painted. If you put a good coat of paint on there, it really does seal up the burlap, and you don't see all those little burlap holes if you just gave a thin coat of paint on there. So I just went over the whole thing. I noticed that my hot glue kind of looked a little bit grayish. So I do go in there and touch that up a little bit until I get a nice ivory coat. I dried it, and then I just go back in any areas where I kind of had any holes or any areas that were a little bit thin. I just added another touch of paint. And that's basically it for the canvas part. Just a little bit of hot glue and some acrylic paint and one of these little burlap canvases, which I am obsessed with. Every time I see these, I try to grab a stack because they are great for coastal crafting. But look at this, they're great for fall crafting as well. So I'm just going over everything, making sure it is good and white, and I really love how that turned out. Now, the 5-gallon paint stirrers from Walmart, they're a couple dollars. You get 3 of them, and 1 can be for each side. And then this one, I'm going to cut it twice to this length for a top and the bottom, and we're just going to make a really easy little chunky frame. I just cut left to right, side to side for the top and the bottom. I'll fill the rest of the space in when I go to do the side pieces. I was trying to decide if I wanted it boxy or kind of in the middle, and I decided I wanted it in the middle, so I just do a band of hot glue on the middle of my paint stick, and I'm going to stick that directly to my canvas. I decided to attach it this way because I didn't want any real visible nails or anything like that, which you could do. But I noticed the sides of the canvas are a little bumpy, and if I use hot glue, I can kind of mold the frame to go tight up against the burlap as I can get, and it actually turned out pretty well. So I got my top piece on, and we're going to do the same thing here with the bottom. Just gluing it about halfway. And be careful, I thought that my paint was dry, but the paint on the back of the canvas was wet. And it made me get it on the frame, so I got to clean that up real quick. It definitely went through the holes a little bit. And now we just need 2 side pieces for our frame. I wanted it to be kind of constructed like this, so you could hang it or you can sit it. I'm going to use it like kind of as a shelf sitter artwork for my home. So I cut down a side piece. I didn't cut it down great though, and it fit better on the other side, so we're going to go with that. So same thing, we're just going to glue it on. This time I put glue on each end of the top frame and then glue along the sides. That way I can kind of glue everything together in one straight shot, just trying to keep it as square as I can, but it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it looks kind of square and it stands properly, I'm totally going to be fine with it. So one more paint stick. And one of y'all told me that you guys get like paint sticks from, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's. And it must be the smaller ones. I don't know. They sounded like they're really cheap. I have never bought paint sticks from there before, but maybe I'll have to check that out because I always love these large ones from Walmart. And if they're cheaper than the Dollar Tree rulers, then maybe I need to stock up on some because I love using them for crafting. So I've got it all glued on there. And this DIY is complete. I love it. It turned out so cute. And I think it looks pretty close to the original. So here is what we were trying to dupe. This white textured pumpkin art print from Kirkland's for $39.99. And here is our Dollar Tree version. With a $1.25 canvas plus a couple dollars for the paint sticks. Really easy to DIY. And I love the simplicity of this. If you did like a neutral fall, this is going to go so nicely with your decor. And isn't it cute? I love kind of the imperfect nature of it. It's just kind of a work of art. Okay, next dupe, we're going to try to do this pumpkin floral window hanger plaque, which is regularly $29.99 at Kirkland's. And I wanted to try to do a Dollar Tree version. Now mine's probably going to be a lot smaller, but they have a very similar frame, this one from Dollar Tree. So let's give it a go. I thought we could do a little cathedral window and make a pumpkin wreath that's going to be kind of similar. I do want to switch up the hanger though. I don't like the way that it was hanging before. I did try to use like the existing hanger and just reverse it, but it was too short, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace it with twine. I always like to knot them in the front. I just think it hangs better, and sometimes the Dollar Tree pieces can be a little thin. This one's kind of a medium thickness, I would say. It doesn't bow or anything like that, but it kind of has that wood grain on it already, like the original window, so that's going to save us a step. So just knotted that in the front, and then I want to remove the little welcome sign on there because the original does not have that piece. And it is on there, like so much. Like I used a lot of heat and a lot of scraping, and I was able to get it off intact mostly. Now, the thing that I noticed though is when I got it off and got everything cleaned up, there were like still a couple little tiny nails, not visible from the back, but visible from the front. So those kind of bothered me. I was trying to see if I could hide them or grab them. I was able to get them with pliers though, so I did just kind of try to pull them out and just kind of get that out of the way. I really got most of that off without any damage, but there was just a slight bit of damage there that I thought was going to be a little bit distracting. So I thought one of these little wood Hello Autumn signs from the Dollar Tree would be perfect there. It'll cover up that little bit of damage. And I'm going to paint it this color. It is called Golden Sunset. It is by Apple Barrel from Walmart. It's kind of the color of the year, this kind of like honey color for fall. So I thought that'd be a nice neutral color to go with this. I just do a little hot glue there on the line that connects the two letters and glue that on the bottom. It's a perfect fit. Now, from there, all we have to do is make the little fall wreath that was hanging on the original, and I'm going to do that with just a couple items from the Dollar Tree. My first attempt was wire. I have some wire from Dollar Tree. It's really thin, but I thought maybe it would be a good idea to kind of just form a wreath form out of the wire, and then I can use floral wire to attach everything to my wreath. It didn't last long though, because I figured it was a little bit too much work for such a small scale wreath, but I did start it with some of this lamb's ear from Dollar Tree. I absolutely love this stuff. It's like some of my favorite greenery. I'm so glad that Dollar Tree is carrying it now. I'm just kind of pulling the pieces off, keeping their little plastic stems, and so I can have little pieces to decorate it with. Now, this was my original plan. I was just going to wire everything to it, but I do have plans to attach lots of things to it, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I really need to wire it. So I decided, you know what? I think I could probably do just as good as a wreath with hot glue instead of the wire, which is going to be a little bit annoying. So this is about how far that I got when I decided, yeah, the heck with the wire. But I did begin that way. So what I'm going to do instead is I just looked around for something that was round to kind of give me a reference to a circular shape. And then we can just kind of start building around that. And I'm going to do the wreath form first with the lamb's ear, and then we can add everything else to it. The original one from Kirkland's looked like it was lamb's ear, pumpkins, and like maybe wheat. Now, Dollar Tree, I don't know, maybe it's all gone already, but I haven't been able to find any wheat at Dollar Tree this year or anything that looks quite like it. So we're going to use some fall eucalyptus, which I think is going to give us a very similar feel. So as you can see, I'm just kind of overlapping it slightly, using a little dot of hot glue here and there to attach the piece to the previous section. But I'm kind of keeping all the leaves going the same direction and just wrapping it all around. Now, some of the leaves are like kind of small and super fuzzy like this one. Some of them are kind of bigger and greener. I'm just trying to kind of, mix them all together. So I made it all the way around. We got our first ring shape, so we can kind of get rid of that. It's not super even, but it is about the right size, I think, for our little window. So since it's not even, I thought I would add a little bit more to it. Just picking out some bigger leaves here and attaching them any of the areas that I kind of thought looked a little sparse. And just trying to make sure it has that nice round shape. And I'm really glad that I switched to hot glue, because I think constructing this was way easier this way and a little bit less time. So anytime I kind of want to change the direction, I can just do that with a dot of hot glue. And I'm going to add another leaf like right here, and it's looking way fuller. Now the next step is this eucalyptus I was talking about. It's in with the fall flowers. It's kind of got the same color as the wheat, kind of got a very similar shape. So I think we can use some of these. There are different colors, so I'm going to kind of use a variety of colors, and I think 3 is going to be plenty because this is a very small little wreath. And I just put a little hot glue on the end of it and tuck it down in between our lamb's ear leaves. Kind of a third of the way here, and then I'll do my last one right down here at the bottom. And the other thing that the original had from Kirkland's was some little pumpkins. And I picked up this great greenery from the fall section that has little pumpkins dangling from it. And it works out perfect because there's 3. I like the fact that they have stems like this that dangle. It's going to make it a little bit easier, I think, to attach it to the wreath. But I don't really want to incorporate that too much into the design. So I decided to kind of attach the stems to the back of the wreath. So I start by doing that, by hot gluing that. And I'm going to kind of do one in between each one of the eucalyptus. Kind of spread those out as well. And then we can kind of pull the pumpkins around to the other side. So that is all 3 of them. They're kind of strung on. That's just going to make it a little bit sturdier when I go to attach the pumpkins to this side. As you can see, they kind of dangle around. Kind of all over the place, and I really want them to kind of stay in place. And so I do glue them down to the front of the pumpkin as well. But just a little bit here, kind of on their side, kind of tilted a little bit. And then I just kind of want to make sure that I have them kind of evenly spaced out. And I think it's looking pretty cute. I think maybe just a few more touches, maybe a few more lamb's ear, just to make it look a little bit thicker. And then we'll be ready to hang our little pumpkin wreath on our window. This is a really fun DIY to make. I really love crafting with those little cathedral windows, signs from Dollar Tree. They have them in like 3 or 4 different varieties. I think they even have one like on a stand now if you wanted to do this for a standing decoration instead of a hanging decoration. Doesn't that look so cute? And I really don't mind the Hello Autumn that we added to it. I think that is a fun touch. And it's a nice small size DIY where you could pretty much hang this anywhere. It would look great in your kitchen, in your office, wherever you need a little bit of fall decor. And I just hot glued it to the front of our window, kind of centering it on there and cleaning up any hot glue that may have come through the holes there in the window. But that's it. We have another Kirkland's Dupe complete. Super easy. I think it turned out really beautiful. What do you guys think about this one? So again, here was our original pumpkin floral window hanger plaque for $29.99 regularly at Kirkland's. And then let me show you my Dollar Tree version. I think it turned out really sweet, and I think I have the perfect place to hang this for fall. I really love crafting fall DIYs. They're some of my favorite. Such a fun time of year to craft. So here it is, our little pumpkin wreath window and our next dupe. So Kirkland's Home has the Scarecrow double-sided pillow, regularly $39.99, and I thought we could make a Dollar Tree version. Ours is going to be on the smaller side, because I wanted to try to use one of these burlap bags from Dollar Tree for the front and the back. The reason I chose this instead of the burlap at Dollar Tree is because it's got this plastic coating. It's a synthetic burlap, so it doesn't fray. It's super easy to cut, and it's really easy to work with. So even though it's going to be a little bit smaller pillow, I think it's going to work perfect in my entryway. And since this is kind of has a plastic coating on it, if you wanted to use this outside, I think that it would totally hold up. Basically, I want all the fabric off of the front and the back of the bag. So I'm just cutting along the seam there because it did kind of have the little side panels on the bag that I don't really need. So I don't need the handle or the seam up here. I'm just going to try to get as much of that synthetic burlap clean as I can get in the shape of a rectangle. I just kind of want to use every single bit of it. And then we can do a little scarecrow head pillow like the original from Kirkland's. I thought that I was going to get super straight lines with my little rotary blade, but I did not really. But I do have this cutting mat, so I'm going to kind of use that to try to straighten this up a little bit and give me some cleaner edges so I'll have a nice square pillow. Once I get this one good and square, then I can just use this one as a template for the other piece. So one will be the front with the scarecrow face. I'm not going to make mine double-sided. I'm just going to do one side with the face. So I'm just going to lay that on top of here. And then I can use that for a reference when cutting down the second one. I just kind of want to get the sides and the handle and all that kind of stuff out of my way just to make it a little bit easier to cut. And once I get that all down, then I can just use the original for reference to cut it down. Now, I love painting this like synthetic burlap. It's super easy to paint. And so I think we're going to be able to do like a very similar design to the original Scarecrow. So I'm going to kind of use that for reference and try to freehand this. Now, it had kind of like a hat that kind of went sideways like this. My pillow is not super big, so I don't want my hat part to be very big because it doesn't really add too much to the design. And I'm going to make it that same kind of like yellowish honey color to kind of go with my fall decor. So I use a paint marker in that color, and then I go back in with this beautiful color, and I'm just using a brush. That way I can kind of get in all of the fibers of the burlap, make it look like it is really painted in there. I've noticed that when you use the paint pens, you kind of get that dotted look because it doesn't really get in the holes of the synthetic burlap, which is why you need a brush to kind of push it all down in there. And I just want a nice even coat for the hat. And they had like, I think Happy Harvest on theirs. I don't have quite enough room for that, but I will add a word to that. Then I just use a black Sharpie and I draw on 2 oval eyes like the original scarecrow. And that's kind of the effect that you get. It had like these little parts of the eyeball here. So I went ahead and sketched those out, but see how like dotted that looks? I tried to like switch it up to a paint pen, but I felt like it still did not give me great coverage. So I'm just going to use a tiny brush from Dollar Tree, some black acrylic, and go in there and paint it like I did the hat. And I think that's key. I think that makes it look a lot better. And with a tiny brush, you can't make too many mistakes on an eye, right? And we're going to do the face very similar to the one in the original because I thought it was super cute. Scarecrow faces are really easy to DIY. Now, I always like to have my scarecrow noses be like a little triangular shape. They did something really cute on the original where they made their nose look like a piece of candy corn. So I'm going to emulate that since we're doing a dupe video. So I just sketch out that rectangular rounded shape. Kind of like that, which is what I would normally give a scarecrow, right? But we're going to paint it to look like a piece of candy corn. So I do white at first. This little section here, I tried paint pen again. Convinced I could use paint pen, just didn't like the look. So I went back in with a little bit of white acrylic to fill that in. Also, these little reflections here in the little scarecrow eyes. We're going to paint those white as well. Then I'm going to switch to orange. I think this is called jack-o'-lantern color for this part of the candy corn. And then switch back to our original color here that we used for the hat. And I think that kind of looks like a piece of candy corn. What do you think? And then the mouth was like a bunch of squiggles. So I just take a black Sharpie and do squiggles in the shape of a mouth. Can't really mess that up because there is no right way to do it. Then I am going to do a paint pen for this part just because it's so skinny. I can't really do this with a brush. So I sketched that out. And then I'm going to do the little stitch marks all along the scarecrow mouth like the original. Then I'm going to use that same paint pen to kind of outline the little candy corn nose, just to kind of make that pop a little bit. And I think he's looking really sweet. What do you guys think? Now, the original one said like Happy Harvest. I only have room for like maybe one word on my pillow, so I chose Harvest, and I'm just using a white paint pen. And I'm just going to do cursive handwriting, kind of like what they used, and try to get it on here. I noticed that, I painted it so much this gold color that it kind of wanted to soak in. It wasn't super white. And whatever you do, don't do that. What I did was when I was concentrating so hard on painting Harvest, I put my arm in the orange paint on his nose and it was not dry yet. And I got it all over my poor little scarecrow's face. But I was able to get most of it off. Now I go back in with another coat to kind of make this more visible up here because it really kind of faded all the way in. And I went back with a third coat and it still kind of looked like the original like burlap color, but hey, at least you could read it now, so I think I'm happy with it. Now everything else is kind of outlined, so I thought I should outline the hat too. So I used my black paint pen just to do a nice straight line here, just to kind of make this look a little bit neater up here for the top of the scarecrow hat. And I think that's about all of the pieces of his design. And now we can start building a cute little fall pillow. I'm going to start at the top just by doing a bead of hot glue along the top. And then measure that up here with the top piece. And just kind of push that together. Make sure you don't burn yourself with the hot glue. Those little fingertip protectors from Dollar Tree always seem to disappear from my workbench. So I just got some new ones, thank goodness, because I burn myself way too much with hot glue. So if you get any hot glue sticking out or threads, you can always trim it up a little bit to make it look nicer. Then we're going to go in and do a bead of hot glue along both sides, working quickly so it doesn't set up. Then lay this back down, leaving the bottom of the pillow open so that we can stuff it. Now, I always like to save my old bed pillows and stuff like that to use the polyfill for crafting, because I'm always making pillows and stuff like that. And so that's what I'm using. And polyfill is just too expensive to purchase. I never purchase it. I always use old pillows. So I just pull it out. I kind of like to use smaller pieces because I don't really want any lumpy surfaces in my pillow. And I just kind of keep filling it until I get it nice and fat. I don't want it too full here at the bottom because I still need to close it, which is what I'm going to do with another bead of hot glue along the bottom. And then just lay it flat and glue all of the fluff in there. Kind of looks like a sack pillow or something like that, which I guess it kind of is, a bag pillow. But I think it turned out so cute. I'm going to display this in my entryway, on my hall tree. It's just an adorable little fall pillow. I absolutely love the design. I think we got pretty close to the original, just maybe on a smaller scale. Isn't he cute? I love scarecrows. So let me show you the original that we were trying to dupe from Kirkland's. It was regularly $39.99. And says Happy Harvest, a cute little burlap scarecrow face. And here is our Dollar Tree version. So it cost $1.25 for the bag, free fluff, and just a little bit of paint to make this adorable face and hat. And I love him. He's so cute. I might have to make another one. Maybe a girl one. That would be cute to go with him. And I wanted to take a quick moment out of today's video and let you know about my Facebook group. I always have it linked in the description below. We will love it if you joined us. You'll find out when I post new videos. I know some of you guys have been saying you haven't been getting notifications. Maybe turn it off and turn it back on. I don't know why YouTube's doing that. I also have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and Threads, and my handle is Crafty Beach on YouTube. Okay, next Kirkland dupe is this tan burlap fall book stack decoration, regularly $19.99 at Kirkland's. It is adorable, and I thought we could do a Dollar Tree version really easily. Now, they have a book stack for fall. It looks like this. It's a little plain. It's not too bad, though. And so we are just going to use, again, one of those burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. This is half of one that I have left over from another craft project because you guys know I craft with it all the time. I love it. And I thought we could cover the top, front, and bottom with this bag, and it's going to give us that same burlap feel from the original. And we can even do gold lettering for the books to give it that same feel. So I just cut out the front panel of this. Again, I just want a rectangle of the synthetic burlap. And then I just need to cut it down to size, a strip that's going to cover the bottom, the side, and the top there. So I was kind of thinking how I want to do it. I covered every surface except for the back, maybe because the back was just cardboard already. And it's kind of supposed to be book pages back there. We can't really see it back there, so it doesn't matter. So I just use an ink pen and draw out the bottom. And then as you can see, I just flip it as I go. So I get one long piece that we can use for all of the books. Now, if you wanted to use this to cover actual books, that would be super cute as well. In the original, it kind of looked like a book stack like this, but maybe a little fancier one. So I just cut that down to size, and then we can just attach this all in one piece. I will cut it later to make it look like individual books, but I'm just going to start right here on the top just by lining it up like that with the excess going on the front. I just do a layer of Mod Podge. Even though it has that plastic coating, you can use Mod Podge. It does take a little bit extra time to dry though for the plastic on there. And then I'm just going to line it right up like this. Now, since it is a rather thick burlap, I didn't think that you'd really be able to see the writing on here. So I went ahead and did Mod Podge first and then laid this down and smoothed that out when I realized that you could still kind of read thankful and blessed and stuff like that through there. And I kind of realized that when I was kind of creasing it, and I'm going to add new titles to it. And I didn't know if you would be able to see that. It kind of bothered me. So I was at a step where I could just pull it back up, wipe off the Mod Podge, and then disguise the writing on there a little bit by just using a little bit of white paint. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to mask it, do a coat of white all over the front. And as you can see, the Mod Podge on that plastic just stayed wet for me, so that'll help. But once I got it dry, I did add a little bit to the books itself because I want each one of these to be glued down to each book because we are going to cut those in just a moment. And I'm covering the bottom of my book sack. I mean, you probably wouldn't need to, but I kind of wanted that feel that the book wrapper went all the way around the book, kind of like the original. So I Mod Podge that to the bottom, pulling everything as tight as I can to it and let that dry. Then I go back in with a razor blade and I just cut out in that little seam between each one. And I kind of go back in there with a Cricut weeder, really try to emphasize that I felt like you still couldn't really see that there were separate books. So while my Mod Podge had a little bit of play in there, I was able to kind of rearrange it a little bit so you could see like a slight gap between each book. And I liked that look a little bit better. So now it's just a matter of making book titles. I'm going to use my Cricut. It looks like they're about 1 inch wide. And I am going to share my Cricut file for this if you want to recreate. And I'm just going to use some gold vinyl that I had in one of those like variety packs of like 12 by 12 vinyl off Amazon. And I probably should have chose the foil setting. I don't think I realized really that this was like a gold foil, which I guess makes sense because it's metallic, right? But if you don't cut it like super good when you're using a foil, like if I would have used the foil setting, it probably wouldn't have been this hard to weed. Because as you can see, I was struggling, but I was also determined that I was not going to recut this. So if you make any mistakes and your letters come up, as long as you get them back down on that original sheet, get them lined up properly, you won't have any trouble. It could have also been that that was a little bit of a fancier font because this one really didn't give me much trouble at all. I did the same titles that were on theirs, except I modified this last one a little bit because theirs said like, leaves are falling, autumn is calling, and there is no way I was going to weed letters that small. No way. And it was like so much on there that I didn't think you'd really be able to, you know, read it either. So I have enough trouble with this size weeding. I think this is probably my limit. And we got them all 3 on my paper transfer paper. I'll just cut that down into strips. I get that paper transfer paper on Amazon. It's always linked in my Amazon shop below. And I'm going to use that to start transferring these on here. I'm going to do them kind of in the same order. Fall is my favorite on the top book. And I love that gold vinyl. I will definitely have to get some more of this because it turned out so cool. And I would have never thought to put the gold on the burlap like this if I hadn't seen the original that we're duping from Kirkland's. So the second one said Autumn Skies. And then the last one, I just said leaves are falling. And check it out. I think it turned out so cute. I don't want to take away from that beautiful shimmer of the gold, so I'm not going to seal it down, but I think it's going to stay on there pretty good. That vinyl seemed pretty sticky. And here was our original tan burlap fall book stack, regularly $19.99 at Kirkland's. And then our DIY Dollar Tree book stack. Isn't it beautiful? I love the burlap covering the books. I don't know why I never thought to use burlap for that. And I love the subtle colors. Again, super cute for like a neutral fall decor. Okay, are you ready for another Kirkland's dupe? On our next one, we're going to do this Hello Pumpkin beaded hanging wall plaque from Kirkland's, regularly $29.99. And we are going to try to DIY this with items from the Dollar Tree. So I started with one of the wood pumpkins from Dollar Tree that you can find every year, some wood beads from Dollar Tree that are strung, some leaves, and I found a great metal hello sign that really looks like the hello on the front of the original sign. So we're going to have it hanging differently like the original. So I just filled the hole in the top of the pumpkin stem in with a little spackle because we're not going to need that. And then I'm just going to go over the whole pumpkin with ivory paint. I have some chalk paint. I think I probably need to put water in it because as you can see, this was thick, but hey, it was one coat coverage, so I guess I can't complain, right? So I just went over the whole pumpkin with that. The original had like 2/3 of the pumpkin being orange and like 1/3 of it being white. And so I'm going to try to set mine up similarly. I really liked the colors and everything that was going on the original. So once I get the ivory paint dry, I'm going to use some painter's tape and kind of figure about 2/3 of the pumpkin and try to lay that as level as I can on there. Then we're going to go in with some acrylic paint. I'm just using the color pumpkin. And we're just going to paint the top part of the pumpkin. I will paint the stem a different color, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and paint everything this pumpkin orange color. Very traditional, very pumpkin color. I mean, they even name it that. Just do a nice coat all over. And then once I get that dry, I'm going to release my painter's tape. I used some quality like 3M painter's tape. And so I didn't have very much bleeding, so I was happy with the straight line. I did have a couple areas there where you could see a little bit of the ivory coming through. So I did touch that up first and gave it another dry. And the final reveal, look at that crisp line. I love doing that. Now, I'm going to attach the hello to the top, kind of like theirs looked like they had a black hello word. I can't believe I found the same thing at Dollar Tree. But again, I wanted the pumpkin stem not to be orange, so I'm just using this like teddy bear, I think color it is. Just a light brown color. Really any kind of brown color I think would be good. And then just kind of like doing like little triangular shapes here at the bottom, kind of irregularly, kind of making that look like a pumpkin stem. And that was the only challenging part of that, is to kind of make this part down here look a little bit more natural. The trick is to make it like not quite so uniform. And then I'm just going to use a white paint pen to do the little pumpkin sections like the original. That one had 4. This has like kind of an obvious area there at the bottom where the middle 2 would be. So I'm just kind of eyeballing that because again, you won't have that on the bottom part because the bottom part is white. So you're only doing this top like 2/3. And I just kind of sketch those out, kind of arch shape. Don't have to be perfect, but it really kind of adds a little bit of fun and dimension to the top part of the pumpkin. Here is the hello word that I found at Dollar Tree. It's perfect. The only thing that's not perfect about it is that it is on a pedestal and I just need the hello word. And it was soldered on there so well. So I grabbed my pliers and I kind of go to town on this. I know that with yardsticks, if you bend them back and forth enough, you'll get them to break. And this was no different. So I just kind of grabbed it as close as I could to the word hello and then just bent it back and forth until that popped off. Now I did leave a little tab still on here and I really did try to get that off and I could not get that off. So I'm just going to end up painting it black and hoping it kind of like fades into the design. It is not super noticeable. And if it's not silver like that, I use a little black paint pen, add a little black to it. It's not going to be the end of the world, but it was on there. I couldn't get it off. But how cute is that little wire hello word? It is perfect. It's the right color. It's the right size. And it's going to go on this orange part of the pumpkin, just like in the Kirkland's original. I just flatten it out, make sure it's going to be nice and level to attach to the pumpkin. It's going to say hello, and then it's going to say pumpkin on the bottom. So what I do is just going to measure. I have about 3 inches by 11 inches kind of down there. And I'm going to cut out the word pumpkin in black vinyl to kind of get a similar look to what the original. They kind of did theirs small, thin letters that don't really pop. And I kind of want mine to pop, so I do cut mine a little bit bolder, you'll see. And then I just knot some of that Dollar Tree wood beads and hot glue it to the back of the pumpkin sign. I did it like this because this was kind of how it looked in the original. But feel free to drill holes in there if you want to tie yours on. Kind of went back and forth on that decision. But this is not a very heavy sign, so I think that's going to be strong enough. Lots of wood beads on there, just like the one that we're duping. And then theirs had a green leaf. I did try it with like the yellow color, which I kind of liked. But, you know, this little variety pack does have a green. So I was trying to get as close as I could to the original, so I decided to use the green color like they did. And they just had theirs kind of attached to the pumpkin stem up here on the right. So we're going to do the same thing on our little dupe. I love duping items from like high-end stores like this. You can get some really good ideas, but if they do something that you don't like, you're always free to kind of make yours better or your own way for sure. So I think that looks pretty good. And then we'll need to attach the word hello here to this section. I just kind of study it and see what's laying flat. And it looked like this part of the H and this part of the O. So I just put hot glue on those two areas. I think that will be enough to secure that little metal hello to our pumpkin sign. I think that was really a great find. I didn't have to paint it or anything. And then I just used black vinyl and cut out the word pumpkin for the bottom. I did do kind of a skinny plain font, which is similar to the original. I just made mine a lot bigger because I really kind of wanted it to pop that it was said hello pumpkin, because I really wanted the sign to be whimsical. So I just used my paper transfer paper. And now we can attach that to our sign. I thought about making a stencil, but I think vinyl is going to be absolutely fine on this. I just line it up here in the white section of our pumpkin and attach that. The only thing I didn't like about the black vinyl is that it was like a glossy vinyl that I had. It was just a scrap piece I was glad to use up, but everything else is kind of a matte sheen. You know, the paint dries very matte, so to get that same sheen for the vinyl, I just seal it with some Mod Podge. That's going to seal the vinyl down, but it's also going to take away some of the glossiness. And I kind of continue that up the sides of my pumpkin. Couldn't do too much there because I already attached the word hello. Just making sure I don't have any little black pieces of foam in there. And this is how it turned out, our little hello pumpkin sign. I think it's adorable. This is what we were trying to dupe, the hello pumpkin sign from Kirkland's, regularly $29.99 at Kirkland's. And then let me show you our Dollar Tree version. I think we got pretty close. What do you guys think? We've got the metal hello word. We've got the orange and white pumpkin, the green leaf, the wood beads. And I really like how mine kind of screams pumpkin, but you could always make your font smaller. I will share my Cricut file for that as well, but it's a super easy cut. I love it. I think it's really fun. Okay, the next item we're going to try to do from Kirkland's is an autumn's tree canvas art print, regularly $99.99, really large one. But I kind of took the idea and designed my own autumn tree art print. And it's the first time that I've ever taken a photo and made it into a painting. And I think it turned out really cool. So I designed it to be a square, and I designed it to fit in perfectly to one of these little square signs from Dollar Tree. Theirs was like an unframed canvas, but I always like all of my artwork to be framed. So this has a little frame edge along the sides. So I think it's going to be perfect. Again, I don't like the hanger that really comes on these, so I just replace that with a little bit of twine, using some hot glue to make sure it feeds through and knotting it off on the front. Now I will share this printable of this fall scene that I designed. I took a fall picture and using Canva, I converted it into a painting, and I'm kind of obsessed with how well it turned out. This frame is about 8.5 inches by 8.5 inches is what I designed the image to be, but my printer will not do borderless at this size. So I am going to have a slight border here on the top and the bottom, but that's okay. It's just going to make it fit nicely. And I just kind of trim my two sides down slightly until it fits in my frame. And this was such an easy DIY. I'm just going to put a coat of Mod Podge down. And again, I printed that printable out on cardstock just because I like working with that better with Mod Podge. And I get my cardstock in the big reams at Target. It's actually a good time to buy it this time of year. School supplies are on sale. And then I just lay it right here on top of the Mod Podge, gluing it down, no wrinkles or anything, which is one reason why I love the cardstock. And I will definitely share this free printable with you as well. I absolutely love how it turned out. It was a picture like of a fall road with some people walking down it. When I turned it into a painting, you can barely tell that there's people on it anymore, but I think it looks really cool. Now, once I got it dry, I went over the top of it with more Mod Podge, kind of working horizontally. I really want that brush stroke because that texture is going to kind of go with the look of a painting, which is what I wanted to go for. So easy. I think one coat of Mod Podge is all that's going to need to seal that. We're going to leave the frame as is, and here's my little fall scene of autumn trees. A little different than the original, but I think I kind of captured the same kind of feel of an autumn tree painting. So they're the one we were trying to dupe for $99.99. And here is my Dollar Tree version with my free printable that I designed. Isn't that cool? I'm going to have to make more things look like paintings because I think that's so cool. And it really reminds me of an autumn road. I think it turned out so fun, and that was so easy to DIY. Now, the next item we're going to try to dupe from Kirkland's are these Happy Fall plaid wood pumpkins. We're just going to do one of them. I thought we could do the one that says, "Let's Get Cozy," and they're regularly $59.99 for this set at Kirkland's, and we're going to do the same thing with one of these Dollar Tree wood pumpkins. It's got the same wood bump out sections on the front as those, so we can just totally make this our own. So I'm just going to remove the little raffia that was on there and any hot glue, and we can start painting this pumpkin to kind of make it look like the original. The original had like a ivory or white background, and then it had fall plaid on the bump out parts. Now, they must have designed that plaid for that because I could not find a fall plaid anywhere near that fall plaid, so it must be a custom design that they used. So I just found a fall plaid that was as close as I could get to it, and we're going to try to make it work. But I just go over the whole pumpkin, front panels, back panels, everything with ivory. Just because it's inevitable, you're going to get it on the front pieces anyway. You might as well make them look uniform by having everything be the same color. Now here is the plaid image that I designed. The colors are similar. The pattern is similar. It's got a little bit more going on than theirs, but I think we can get pretty close with it. And I will share that free printable too. I just printed this one out on regular paper because I wanted to be able to sand it easily around these little pumpkin sections. And we're just going to Mod Podge it here to those sections all at once. That way the design will continue from one piece to the next, and I don't have to worry about lining it all up. So I just put it on top of all three of the little pumpkin sections and dry that on there. Now it's a matter of trying to kind of feel the little area between the sections. And then I just used a a razor blade to kind of cut my paper so that I have like 3 different little pieces of paper so that we can then sand the paper down and get exact cuts for those little pumpkin sections. I'm going to use my little finger sander. The finger sander is kind of key for this. I got mine at Target, I think, because you can really get in between the little pumpkin sections. And as you can see, it will give you a perfect cut on that little raised section. And this is definitely the easiest way I have found to decorate the front parts of these with paper. And I'm really glad I decided to do it all at one time too, so I didn't have to worry about lining up that intricate plaid pattern. So we got our first section. We're just going to keep going, doing the same thing, just sanding until it kind of breaks away here all on its own. And go over this little section here. And the original piece that we're duping from Kirkland's was a standing pumpkin like this. This was a hanging sign, but we're just going to convert this and make it a standing sign so it'll be closer to the original. And we're even going to make a little tag to hang down in front like the original too. So here is our final section, sanded to perfection. I am going to touch up a little bit of my ivory paint. I might have like kind of bumped here and there with the sandpaper. And I thought my pattern was a little bold. I'll show you how I tone it down in just a second. I do want to make sure it's good and sealed first though. So I do go over the top with more Mod Podge, working in thin coats because again, I use just regular printer paper for this. And I will share this plaid printable with you as well if you want to DIY with this. It's basically the same size as this sheet of paper. Once I got that dry, I decided to go over it with ivory, acrylic, a very thin coat, following that up with a wet baby wipe to kind of give me a whitewash. Because again, this was a lot bolder pattern than the original. So I was trying to tone down the color a little bit if I could. But if you like your plaid design, you know, that step is totally optional. But I really kind of like the plaid look on the pumpkin. Very fall. It reminds me of a fuzzy like flannel shirt. Now, these are the tags that we're going to use. These are the little wood tags from Dollar Tree. It's a little bit different shape than the original, but it's got a hole to hang it, so I think it'll work perfectly. So I just paint my tag with ivory acrylic, the same color that we painted the back of the pumpkin. And you can use your Cricut for the word on there. I'm just going to freehand it just because I didn't really want to use my Cricut again. I'm not a big fan of weeding small letters. It can be a big issue. I also add another layer of whitewash on here just to tone down that plaid a little bit more. Kind of make it look hazy like that. And old, which is kind of the look I was going for. Now for the tag, I decided I didn't have a brown Sharpie, but I had a gold one. So I'm just going to freehand on here what it said on this original. It said, let's get cozy. Let's get in smaller case letters and then cozy all in caps. Now I noticed that my gold combined with the ivory paint really kind of looked gray. So I switched to my bronze Sharpie. I have so many Sharpie colors. I love them. And just sketched it out again. And then I distressed that with a little ivory to make it look not so much like marker and a little bit more distressed. And it would be more perfect with a Cricut, but hey, we're going with it. Now, for the leaves, the only leaves that I had from the Dollar Tree were these little burlap leaves. I think they're so cute. And so that's what we're going to use for our pumpkin leaves. I think they had metal leaves on the original piece, but we're going to do 2 with the little burlap leaves. I think that's going to go nicely right there on this side of the pumpkin stem. It's also going to cover the hanger hole, which we don't need anymore. So I just hot glue those to the pumpkin stem. I absolutely love those little burlap leaves and flowers they have now. I've been crafting with those a lot. Now they just hung their little tag straight directly in the front, in the center. So I'm going to do the same just by taking some Dollar Tree twine and looping this through and knotting it off, hanging it about the same area as the original. And I'm just going to do that by hot gluing the little knot right here, kind of where the little burlap leaves come together, and let that dangle down in front. They also had like a little rope bow, so I decided to kind of get a similar look by using that same twine from the Dollar Tree, tying a very simple little bow and attaching that with hot glue right there where all of that kind of comes together. Now it's time to make a base. I'm going to use some of the little Jenga blocks from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use 6 of them. Sometimes they come in the variety where some of them are like this dark brown color. So I'm going to glue 3 of them side to side like that for the back. And then I'm going to do the same thing here for the front. It's going to give me a little custom stand that's just the right size for our pumpkin. And it's actually strong enough to make it stand up on its own. I don't really like the color of them like that. So I decided to kind of paint in Distress Mine to kind of make them look like wood. So I kind of try to fill in my cracks between the different pieces with a little bit of spackle. You still can kind of see it, but I'm fine with that. So to get the wood look, I just go over them with ivory, distressing that brown color first, and kind of wiping off the excess there with a paper towel, kind of give a whitewash look to start with. And since there's no wood grain on there, I'm going to follow that up with some Antique Wax by Waverly and a chunky brush to kind of give me a faux wood grain. And it just kind of made the little stand look a lot better. And you definitely don't have to have the darker pieces. You could totally do the same thing with the lighter ones. I just never use the darker ones, so I thought I might as well use them because I have them. So I'm going to put hot glue here along my back stand and hot glue along my front stand. Then I'm going to sandwich my pumpkin in between. Kind of have to act quickly and squeeze it all together, making sure that like your pumpkin is standing right up. You kind of want it leaning back slightly because you don't want it to tip over. And you kind of have to hold it until it dries enough to set up. And then I also decided to add a little extra hot glue in the gaps on the bottom just to make it a little bit stronger. And that's it to our little Kirkland's Let's Get Cozy Pumpkin dupe. Again, I didn't get the plaid the same, but I think I got it pretty close. And I think it looks really cute for fall decor. Again, it reminds me of an old fuzzy flannel shirt that you'd wear in the fall or the winter. So I guess this could go from fall to winter, actually. And here was the original Happy Fall plaid wood pumpkin that I was trying to emulate from Kirkland's. And my Dollar Tree dupe. I think it's really cute. It was so easy to make. I love those little section pumpkins like that from the Dollar Tree. I'm always looking for ways to get creative in decorating those. And the little Jenga block stand worked perfectly. So our little Let's Get Cozy plaid pumpkin. Hey guys, I wanted to let you know that I've introduced memberships on my channel. For $4.99 a month, you can get early ad-free access to my videos and a few other perks as well. And it's an easy way for you to support me here on YouTube. And I want to give a huge thank you to the following crafty beach bums. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Coastal Couple, Pamela Bergeron, I Am Mojo Jojo, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Sandra Ray, Carrie R., Tracy Knight, Verna Noctegal, Julie Miller, Nancy Warner, Jan Zalata, Tammy Coates, and Janae Farrington. Thank you so much for supporting me here on YouTube. And now it's time for the final reveal. Please don't forget to like this video. It really helps the algorithm and helps more people see this video. Comment your favorite DIY or Kirkland's dupe below, or just come say hello in the comments. I love reading your comments. And don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. Enjoy!
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of my video. If you'd like to watch more Crafty Beach, YouTube thinks you might enjoy this video right here.